But before we do any of that, I have to let you know that I have a special in-studio guest here today. Yes, if you've been listening to the scoreboard here, you would know that we've had a caller who's been calling in about UNC Chapel Hill basketball. And we made a little bit of a bet about who was going to win the game between Duke and UNC. And unfortunately, I was the one that came out on the wrong side of that bet. So, special guest who gets to join in studio to boast and brag all he'd like about Chapel Hill basketball is my special guest today, Mr. Mark Ellis. Mark, thanks for coming in. How you doing today? Bring that mic in close to you. Get up in there.
Yeah. Doing great. Especially since the Tar Heels won, big victory over Duke, and so it was actually got to enjoy the game with my son. We went to he lives in Raleigh area, and so we were watching that Saturday night and pulling the Heels through, and so it was just good times. Glad to get the victory.
Yeah, honestly, it was a fun game to watch. And I'll tell you what, I was gonna talk about this one thing about the game. And the first half, I noticed a lot of turnovers by Duke, and it seemed like that kind of did Duke in the end. 10 points off turnovers in the first half. The margin of victory ended up being 11.
Right.
It's a team that knows how to get it done, get out to an early lead. How were you feeling watching that game? Were you at any point nervous?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm always nervous, especially when we're playing a big game. Just made me think back to, Kansas a couple years ago in the championship game. And, they were up big at half, like 15, 16 points. And, it's never over, so it's just I knew Kansas would come out and make a big run, and I figured Duke would do the same thing. But, Carolina just kept them at bay. I mean, they were doing a great job shutting down RJ and really limited his looks and what he could do in the first half. And
I think he only had 4 points in the first half.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 6 or something. But, it was pretty low. And so Baycott was able to really step up, and, I was hoping he'd be able to have a good game and really showed some stuff against Filipowski, and kind of those two guys have been talked about a lot as far as All-Americans this year, and so just kind of a good competition between those two. I think Baycott kind of showed what he can do. And
he did.
I mean, he's been there 5 years now, but he's just keeps plugging along and had a great game.
Absolutely. I see you brought a little note sheet down there.
Yeah,
a little cheat sheet. Tell me what's on that note sheet there.
Oh, just
come on, give me some information here.
Yeah, just all kinds of
different. Spit in Duke's face while you're at it. Come on.
Well, and a lot of it too is not even just Tar Heel related, but I mean, I did note in there about Baycott had another double-double, and that made 77 for his career. So all-time, I know you.
Third all-time ACC now, I believe. Tim Duncan, number
Tim
one.
Duncan, yeah.
I know a little bit. I know a little bit.
Yeah, so, I mean, he was obviously a great player, played all 4 years at Wake, and they had some good success. And then another guy, Ralph Sampson, that was way before your time, but I'm sure you've heard of him. So he played 4 years at Virginia, and he had – he was second all time in double doubles, and it was kind of a different game obviously back then. Didn't even have a 3-point line and stuff like you do nowadays. So it was kind of a big man's game.
I am curious, I guess I could call you a super fan, right? Is that appropriate?
I've always been a Tar Heel fan.
So do you do you follow the players when they go into the pros, or do you just stick to
I mean, a little bit. I mean, I don't keep up with it as much as I used to. Used to be, like when Jordan and Worthy and those guys were still playing, because I watched them as a kid, growing up. That was some of my earliest memories of the Tar Heels and the 82 title game and all that, with those two on it. And so it was just, kind of followed their careers. But really the last, several years, I haven't kept up with the pros as much. I do kind of follow Steph Curry. I'm kind of a Warriors fan,
by
kind of
proxy,
watching him.
right?
Yeah, just kind of North Carolina guy, and his dad played for the Hornets and all that good stuff.
He went to Davidson.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
That
so,
fun stuff.
Pretty local to our area. So
I was pretty new to the area actually when Davidson went on that run. So that kind of Shows
Okay.
about when I showed up.
Okay,
into
that's
this
when you
area.
came to town.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
right about then.
Yeah.
But that was a good game. I got a couple of things that I noted. Number one, the officiating in basketball is still terrible. That
Yeah.
hasn't
Oh,
changed
yeah.
between pros. That hasn't changed between college basketball. Even if you heard my interview with the Statesville basketball head coach, even he was hesitant to say it, but he was saying, yeah, the officiating is terrible.
Right.
Traveling is an issue in basketball. I don't know when we started allowing it, but people take 3-4 steps before they do anything, and
Right.
it seems like there's no respect anymore in basketball. And I'm not picking on UNC, but that little man gesture that Baycott did at the end of the game,
Yes.
it's like, come on, you're up 10, game's over. Like, just go to the free throw line, shoot your free throws,
Right.
take the win, and move on, because we still have a tournament coming up in March that you're going to have to win.
Right, right. And they're going to have to play these guys again at Duke, the last
Exactly.
game of the season, so it's just like I don't get into all that, I'm kind of old school guy like Coach Smith. If he was still been the coach and been around, he would probably yanked him out of
He
the
probably
game.
wouldn't
and
have stayed
You can
for
come
that,
over here and
right?
sit with me now, kind of thing. But
Exactly.
just do your job, take care of business, and actions speak louder than words, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I don't really like that part of it. But a lot of kids do it now, so.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate, because I feel like it does take away from the game. Not only, I mean, you see the dwindling numbers in the pros, and you're a prime example, right? You used to
Right.
keep up with it, but now it's like,
Yeah.
You might start to see that in the NCAA, just because basketball as a sport in general is like going through this weird swing where it's like 3-pointers are all that matters. There's no defense. You can't touch a guy. Traveling is all over the place.
Right.
It's a weird spot to be in if you're
Yeah.
college basketball. But
Yeah, it
we're,
is.
we're looking forward, though. We got, obviously, the ACC tournament coming up. Then the big one, the NCAA tournament.
That's right.
Couple of heartbreaks in the past few years.
Yeah.
Biggest one, I won't bring up the buzzer beater, because we don't have to talk about it today.
Right. Oh yeah.
Are you expecting heartbreak going into it, or do you go into the tournaments thinking this is the year?
Yeah, I just try to be upbeat. I mean, anything can happen. Just player gets hurt or has a bad game, and it's not like the pros where you're playing best of 7 series. It's one game, anything can happen. Just like Virginia a few years ago, the 1 seed losing to the 16 UMBC.
UMBC, and then my alma mater, Fairleigh Dickinson, beating Purdue. Love
Right.
to see it.
Yeah. So I mean, one game, anything can happen. Team gets hot, and it's just you never know what's going to happen. But
We got 30 seconds before we go to commercial. I want to change the subject on you real quick,
Sure,
because
sure.
I like getting the fan perspective.
okay.
What are we thinking about the Panthers this year? Do you keep up with the Panthers?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens. I know they got the new coach now, and so hopefully he can do some good things. And just looking forward to what the season brings.
Thanks for joining me today,
Yes, sir.
Mark.
Thank you.
This was
Appreciate
a lot
it, Joe.
of fun.
Yes, sir.
Looking forward to hearing from you. We'll be back here on the Scoreboard.
More of sports director Joe Berg's The Scoreboard is coming up on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, here's the good news. It's going to be a while before we have to worry about any rain across the area. Staying dry for most of the work week. Partly cloudy skies today. Still comfy for early February with high temperatures in the mid-50s. Back down around freezing overnight. A little cooler with low 50s on the way for Tuesday and Wednesday. Climbing back up towards 60, though, by the end of the week. And rain chances making a return by the weekend. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Merlefest is back, April 25th through the 28th at Wilkes Community College, featuring nearly 100 performers, including Old Crow Medicine Show, Turnpike Troubadours, the Teskey Brothers, Nickel Creek, and more. Tickets and information at merlefest.org. Listen each morning to Good Morning LKN for your chance to win tickets. Mooresville Parks and Recreation is excited to bring The Great Magician Murder Mystery Dinner Theater to the Charles Mack Citizen Center, Saturday, February 10th. This is not your usual murder mystery experience, an evening of theater and mystery that will have you laughing and gasping. The Great Magician Murder Mystery Dinner Theater, Saturday, February 10th. For more info, visit ourtownstage.com. Want to attend the Charlotte Home and Remodeling Show? Throughout the day, you have your chance to win tickets. Listen to Good Morning LKN, the Home Ad Show, the News Drive at 5, and the Scoreboard. Each show gives you your chance to win.
Joe Berg pays off his bets. Don't you ever forget it.
Looking for a night of bluegrass and Americana? Darren and Brooke Aldridge are coming to Kane Center for the Arts Friday, February 9th. This husband and wife team are celebrating their 9th recorded project together, This Life We're Living. Darren and Brooke Aldridge, Kane Center for the Arts, Friday, February 9th. kanearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. Have an event you would like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
The Statesville Family YMCA reminds you that older adults and those with chronic health conditions don't need to feel they must accept impaired balance and limited mobility. Build strength, improve balance, and gain confidence in your mobility through the Moving for Better Balance program. For questions and additional information, email C. Mullins at ymcanwnc.org.
It's the Scoreboard with your host, Sports Director Joe Berg on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
All right, we are back on the scoreboard here. Don't ever forget it. Know it. Commit it to memory. This guy right here, Joe Berg, me, pays off his bets. So, maybe I didn't win, but, I pay off my bets, all right? You can call me up if you want to make a bet with me. I don't know if it's going to be the same thing that you get to come in studio. That's reserved for certain people, okay? Not everybody gets that treatment. 844-STUDIO-4, that's 844-788-3464. We are going to get into some high school basketball real quick because normally I like to start the show with that, but like I said, gotta pay off some bets. You can't just be making bets with the local listening audience and not pay them off. So now we are going to get into high school basketball. And I want everybody to just make sure you listened to this show and stay tuned through the next couple of segments because I have some massive news here about college basketball specifically, in a specific school in college basketball that is about to change everything about the NCAA. And there's another ruling that could be coming in the next month or so that is going to just put the cherry on top of all of this. That's going to be the next segment right after we get through this high school basketball. So stay with me because I got massive breaking news for you later. But we're going to get into the high school sports scene. Now, I wasn't here on Friday. I was a little bit sick. It happens, we all feel ill. Maybe you can still hear it in my voice, a little bit raspy, still got a little cough, but we're fine now. We're moving on. So we did have college or high school basketball on Friday. And we're going to start out the same way that we always do. I like to start near Lake Norman with Mooresville and Lake Norman High School, and then we'll work our way a little bit farther north to the North Iredell side of things. So starting out with Mooresville basketball, currently 13-7 on the season. Now, they did not play on Friday, but they do have a game coming up. Actually, tomorrow, Mooresville takes on South Iredell. And there's only 4 games left in the season for most of these schools. So keep that in mind as we talk about the records, the spot in the conference, and the playoff push that we have coming up. So Mooresville right now, 5-3 in the 4A Greater Metro. They're a game and a half behind Hickory Ridge. If they are able to get a win against South Iredell, they will only be a game back, and they're still locked pretty solid into the playoffs, it seems so far. Another team in the area that's definitely locked into the playoffs are the Lake Norman Wildcats. 19-1 to start their year, currently on a massive 9-game winning streak, 8-0 in the conference, leading the conference, and they did have a game on Friday taking on West Cabarrus and winning that game handedly, 82-66. Moving right along to the team that we have been highlighting here over the past few months, Statesville High School. We had their head coach in, along with one of the players, Caleb Tillman, to chat about the season. And since then, since that interview, just thought I'd let you guys know, since that interview, Statesville High School has not lost a game. 2-0 since then. And on Friday, they were able to go on the road to Ford High School and come out with a 73-61 victory. That is a huge road win for Statesville High School, and it was an interesting one. They were pretty well handed in that one from the start. They jumped out to a 5-point lead in the first, and never really looked back. Just slowly gradually building that lead. Now 6-4 in the conference, third place, and 9-10 overall. They're pretty solid here in the playoffs. Got a couple of games against a few schools in the area that haven't been doing all that well, so they should be coming up with wins there, and then a couple of tougher games with some of the better teams in the conference. Next, tomorrow, they're on the road against West Iredell. Speaking of West Iredell is kind of in a tough spot here. Lost another game on Friday. They got 103 points dumped on them. And they are now on a 9-game losing streak. They're 0-10 in the conference, 2-17 overall. It started out bad, and really it just hasn't turned around since then. Just a really rough year, even as rough as only scoring 30 points in some games, to the point where, there's just really nothing. They got to find a way to get something positive out of the year before we get to the end of the year. So we'll see if they're able to do that. Moving on to North Iredell. North Iredell's got back into the win column on Friday with an 88-80 win over North Lincoln. They're 5-5 in the 3A Western Foothills, 9 wins, 11 losses overall. So they are just hanging on, it seems like, to that playoff spot. It's going to be interesting to see how the rankings come out once the brackets are set. But the next game for North Iredell is a tough one. Hickory High School. It is a home game, but Hickory High School has had an amazing year, even better than Lake Norman, going 20-0 to start the year. 20-game winning streak, obviously. Maybe North Iredell will be able to break that up. And last but certainly not least, before we get into our big story of the day, South Iredell basketball. 9-game losing streak, 2-18 on the year, still winless in the conference. Kind of like West Iredell, they just started, it started bad, and it didn't get much better from there. But ironically enough, their 2 wins on the year both came against West Iredell. So just a really tough year for South Iredell altogether, and the directional Iredell schools in general. That is your high school basketball scene. We're going to talk more about it tomorrow also as we get into some more games that will be taking place. Only 4 games left in the season for all of those schools. I have in front of me, right here on my screen, a massive story coming out of NCAA college basketball that just broke less than an hour ago. Here's the headline. On Monday, the National Labor Relations Board declared that Dartmouth players are employees of the school. You heard that right. the National Labor Relations Board declared that Dartmouth men's basketball players are employees of the school, and they are now allowed to hold an election to unionize. Here's the quote. Because Dartmouth has the right to control the work performance by the Dartmouth men's basketball team, and the players perform that work in exchange for compensation, I find that the petition for basketball players are employees within the meaning of the National Labor Relations Act. This is massive. A judge basically just said that players for a college team are going to end up having the exact same rights as any other people who work a job. This is going to get messy, man, okay? It really is. Because along with that, earlier today, there was some more news. And this comes from back on Friday. On Friday, the second session in months-long labor trial over college athletes' employment status concluded at a National Labor Relations Board regional office in L.A. This case, first filed in 2022 by the National College Players Association, argues that USC football and basketball players should be considered employees of USC, the Pac-12, and the NCAA. The NLRB agreed to take up the case on the NCPA's behalf, and a win would spell the end of the NCAA's amateur model. I've been saying it for months now. Months. Ever since NIL started, even before NIL started, when I was just yelling into the void and not into a microphone. Well, it still kind of is the void. They're not student athletes. They are not amateurs. Not anymore. They are professional athletes who are paid not to go to school. They are paid to play a sport. Where was the missing link here? Now, I'm not shocked that this happened. I always knew that this was the direction that we were going to go when it came to college sports. I'm just shocked that it's Dartmouth. Dartmouth is the first one that was able to win this battle. Representatives from the NCAA, Ivy League, and Dartmouth did not immediately respond to the request from comments. However, it is almost guaranteed that Dartmouth will appeal this ruling, as it would spell the end of the NCAA business model. This news broke at 5:30 by Amanda Kristovich. Amanda Kristovich with Front Office Sports. That's the biggest news of the day. We're going to talk some more about this, but first we got to take a commercial break. You're listening to The Scoreboard. We'll be back right after this.
This guy knows his sports, right? There's more of The Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the way on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, here's the good news. It's going to be a while before we have to worry about any rain across the area. Staying dry for most of the work week. Partly cloudy skies today. Still comfy for early February with high temperatures in the mid-50s. Back down around freezing overnight. A little cooler with low 50s on the way for Tuesday and Wednesday. Climbing back up towards 60, though, by the end of the week. And rain chances making a return by the weekend. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Little Shavers Wood Shop and Building Supply is your one-stop source for winter electric and torpedo heaters, heat lamps, pine and cedar shavings, ice melt, and snow sleds. Plus, year-round items including PPG paints and stains, tools for plumbing and heating, and automotive supplies. Over 55,000 warehouse products available. You'll find Lil Shavers on Facebook and online at lilshavers.com. That's LILshavers.com. Got a Toyota? Get it serviced at Quality Car Care of Statesville. Looking for a great pre-owned vehicle? Quality Car Care has you covered at 2040 Old Mountain Road. Visit qualitycarcarestatesville.com. Does your business provide coffee for employees or customers? Black Powder Coffee can supply you with fresh roasted coffee, a variety of daily signature blends including flavored coffees such as cinnamon roll and Kahlua and cream. We even have bourbon-infused coffee in collaboration with Southern Distilling Company. Visit blackpowdercoffee.com or stop by and see us at 261 Rolling Hill Road in Mooresville. Black Powder Coffee.
President Biden recently released a massive $6 trillion budget, the largest budget in U.S. history. And guess who pays the bill? That's right, you, the American taxpayer. American citizens and business owners will be paying more taxes. That's a fact. And if you owe back taxes, they will be coming after you to collect payments. In fact, President Biden also hired thousands more IRS agents to go after you. If you got a letter from the IRS and you know you owe back taxes or you haven't filed in years, don't put your head in the sand. Call us today. We've saved our customers millions of tax dollars. One quick, free phone call will show you how we can reduce your past tax bill and save you thousands. Guaranteed, or you pay nothing. Call now.
800-218-6440. 800-218-6440. 800. If you're 65 or older and Medicare is your main source of insurance, pay close attention right now and listen for details on how you may save thousands of dollars on your health care costs. Did you know that Medicare can pay for things like dental visits, home delivery of drugs, even a gym membership? Call us right now and learn how to unlock all your Medicare benefits. Medicare and supplemental plans that we provide can even offer you drug coverage with zero copays and pay for transportation to your doctors. Medicare plans can offer you wonderful money-saving benefits, but you've got to call now. We'll help you get the most out of your Medicare. Make this free, no-obligation call now. Save a ton of money on your health care costs and get the code to unlock all your earned Medicare benefits. Paid for by Senior Choice Plans. 800-508-5774. 800-508-5774. That's 800-508.
Conversations that matter.
I gotta tell you, I'm afraid to even think about the next presidential election.
Led by you.
It's a mockery of American politics.
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. The latest news from one of the world's largest beauty companies isn't pretty. Estee Lauder says it's cutting as many as 3,000 positions as part of a restructuring plan. The company behind brands including Clinique and Tom Ford wants to become a leaner and more profitable company so it can respond more quickly to beauty trends fueled by sources like social media. Meanwhile, more layoffs are on the way in the tech industry, which is kicking off 2024 with another wave of job cuts, paring back even further after widespread layoffs last year. So far, some 32,000 tech workers have reportedly lost their jobs this year, and today, Snapchat's owner Snap became the latest example, announcing it's reducing its workforce by about 10%, or around 540 employees. Yesterday's Fed chief appearance on 60 Minutes, during which Jerome Powell said again that a March interest rate cut is unlikely, is getting an uninspiring reception on Wall Street. The week begins with a losing session. The Dow lost 274 points, the Nasdaq lost 31, the S&P fell 16. Erica Herskowitz, Bloomberg Radio.
The Scoreboard with Joe Berg continues now on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It is the Scoreboard here. 844 Studio 4. That's 844-788-3464. If you have something you'd like to talk about with me here today, question, comments, concerns, are you curious about this story out of Dartmouth basketball, the Ivy League, where a judge with the National Labor Bureau just basically said, yeah, you're an employee of the school. Create a union. We have more breaking news. This literally just coming in as we were on commercial break. Week 1 of the 2024 NFL season. Obviously, we're going to have Thursday night football, but now it has been announced that on Friday, we will have the second game of the NFL season. The first time ever the NFL will play on a Friday. The Eagles will be a home designated team for the NFL's first ever game in Sao Paulo, Brazil in 2024. That's some pretty big news right there. Thursday night football, Friday night football, Saturday college football, and then Sunday NFL, Monday NFL. So much for everything else. I guess you just got Tuesday and Wednesday for other sports now. Like I say, if the NFL wanted to, they could cover the news, the sports news for every day of the week. And they kind of do already. I mean, there's always something to talk about with the NFL. But next year, now that's another day of a game, where you're going to have more reaction and more people talking about it. This, man. And then eventually we'll have another game. 17 games isn't going to be enough. It'll go to 18, and then who knows, maybe 19. Maybe we'll have 2 bye weeks. There's a lot of things going on in the world of sports. But before we move on to this, let's go back a little bit to this national, the National Labor Relations Board. They're meeting in the regional office in LA, this one with USC. Not the ruling that just came out with Dartmouth, where the judge ruled that they are employees of the school and are able to vote to form a union. We're going to have the NCAA Players Association. It's coming. I mean, brace yourselves. I don't know how it's going to work. People are going to be coming in and going 1 year. What a mess, man. There's so much restructuring going on in the NCAA. The NCAA is not even going to exist anymore soon, I feel like. This is the way we're trending. The Big Ten and the SEC just made a partnership on Friday afternoon. Like late Friday, they were like, hey, yeah, we're buddy-buddy now. So we're going to hire this consulting firm to help us out. And now we have this. I'd like to, first of all, apologize if I sound a little bit off today because, man, I've already done 2 hours of talking today. I don't know if anybody who listens to this show, but I was on the Home Ed show earlier this morning, filling in for host Brian Summers. And now I got another hour to do this sports show, which is, my show, and I want to be able to give you guys all the information. But at this point, I'm running out of voice. I can feel it going away, and I can feel myself turning my mic up louder and louder and louder as my voice continues to fade. So we're gonna keep trying here. We're gonna get through it, but just know I'm trying my best here. I'm losing my voice as we go through the remainder of this show. But back to the topic at hand. Here's an issue. And this article also released by the same person who dropped the Dartmouth news, Amanda Kristovich, with Front Office Sports. During the 2-week session of this trial, the National Labor Relations Board rested its case on the athlete employment, and USC began its pro-amateurism arguments. One of the main issues, the amount of control exerted over players, and if that constitutes an employee-employer relation. During the first few days of the session, the NLRB, or the National Labor Relations Board, called 3 USC Athletic Department employees as adverse witnesses. The officials claimed ignorance about several rules that are common knowledge, like the term of the school's apparel contract with Nike and the detail of a name, image, and likeness policy. They also attempted to argue that unlike every other major athletic department, USC does not have rules, just expectations. There are no punishments, just accountability activities. According to Joseph Wood, USC's Associate Athletic Director for Football Operations, USC did communicate rules to athletes like a social media policy, curfews, and rules while traveling. He described a point system for punishment, often in the form of physical activities, which other witnesses claimed the school would never use. And he confirmed that USC had an exclusive apparel contract with Nike, meaning athletes cannot wear Adidas or other competitors' clothing during games. His testimony was much more consistent with that of two former USC football players who took to the witness stand in December. So what does all this mean? And why am I bringing all this to you? Because the NCAA, if a court rules, if the National Labor Relations Board concludes that USC athletes are employees of the school, they would have to be paid by the school, number one. And number two, they would no longer be amateurs. And the NCAA would lose the ability to classify people as amateurs because they would be getting paid to participate in these sports. Now, does this spell the death of the NCAA? I really don't know. But this is massive news, and the fallout from this over the next few games is going to be huge. And there's not many media outlets picking it up just yet because, like I said, this news broke about an hour and 10 minutes ago now. I mean, this is fresh off the press. So with this USC case, what's next? The trial will break for most of the month and reconvene February 26th to 29th in Los Angeles. USC will conclude its case, and then the Pac-12 and NCAA will present their defenses. The trial may even continue into a fifth month, with days scheduled in mid-April after March Madness, if needed. I'm going to be following this story, and I'm going to do everything I can to bring you all the late-breaking information on that. Because, man, if you want to follow this story, this is big. This is going to change the NCAA. It's going to change college sports. It's going to change college football, basketball, baseball. Everything is going to be affected by this. I don't know if it's going to be positive. It might be negative at first because it's going to turn into the Wild West. But who knows? Maybe some good comes out of this. I would hope that some good comes out of this because nobody really likes the NCAA. All right, one more segment here today on the scoreboard. You can still call me up 844-STUDIO-4. That's 844-788-3464. Don't go anywhere. We are back right after this.
Keep it right here. We'll have more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg in just a moment from 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, here's the good news. It's going to be a while before we have to worry about any rain across the area. Staying dry for most of the work week. Partly cloudy sky today, still comfy for early February with high temperatures in the mid-50s. Back down around freezing overnight, a little cooler with low 50s on the way for Tuesday and Wednesday. Climbing back up towards 60, though, by the end of the week. And the rain chances making a return by the weekend. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Merlefest is back, April 25th through the 28th at Wilkes Community College, featuring nearly 100 performers, including Old Crow Medicine Show, Turnpike Troubadours, the Teskey Brothers, Nickel Creek, and more. Tickets and information at merlefest.org. Listen each morning to Good Morning LKN for your chance to win tickets. Mooresville Parks and Recreation is excited to bring The Great Magician Murder Mystery Dinner Theater to the Charles Mack Citizen Center, Saturday, February 10th. This is not your usual murder mystery experience. An evening of theater and mystery that will have you laughing and gasping. The Great Magician Murder Mystery Dinner Theater, Saturday, February 10th. For more info, visit ourtownstage.com. Want to attend the Charlotte Home and Remodeling Show? Throughout the day, you have your chance to win tickets. Listen to Good Morning LKN, the Home Ad Show, the News Drive at 5, and the Scoreboard. Each show gives you your chance to win. The Charlotte Home and Remodeling Show, February 23rd through the 25th. Looking for a night of bluegrass and Americana? Darren and Brooke Aldridge are coming to Kane Center for the Arts Friday, February 9th. This husband and wife team are celebrating their 9th recorded project together, This Life We're Living. Darren and Brooke Aldridge, Kane Center for the Arts, Friday, February 9th. kanearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. Have an event you would like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
The Ugly Antenna has now become a household name in this area. The Ugly Antenna allows those without a streaming provider to receive up to 50 channels absolutely free of charge, including Fox 46.1. The Ugly Antenna is small and connects directly to your TV. Get the Ugly Antenna for just $40. Call 704-682-1755. That's 704-682-1755 for the Ugly Antenna.
Talk sports with Joe Berg. Call 844-STUDIO-4. It's the Scoreboard on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
All right, welcome back. You are listening to the final segment of the Scoreboard on this Monday in February. 844-STUDIO-4. That's 844-788-3464. Give me a call if you have something you'd like to talk about. We went over all of this massive NCAA news. Man, I don't know what's going to happen with this. What happens if student athletes are no longer student athletes? They're just athletes who are going to college, who are kind of going to college, because, you know, the classes are, woo. We're going to move on from this story. We'll probably have some more on it tomorrow, but, man, this is big. I'm going to stay on top of this one. I want to talk about NASCAR a little bit. What in the world are you doing, NASCAR? Are you trying to actively kill your sport? Seriously. Here's my problem. You move the Clash from Daytona to California. Sunny LA, right? Sunny LA. Nope. I need a buzzer. Pouring rain. Record rainfall on Sunday. Now, that's not NASCAR's fault, okay? We know that. It's not NASCAR's fault. My problem is that instead of waiting it out, like they always do, for every single thing that they've ever done, like 3 hours before, I don't even remember what time it was, because I wasn't feeling great on Saturday. I wasn't. I was just laying in bed for like most of the day. And then I finally checked my phone and I see a notification that's like, hey, NASCAR decided to move up the Clash. It's not going to be on Sunday. It's going to be on Saturday. And by the way, it's going to be free in case you had tickets or didn't have tickets. Because originally the Saturday practice and I guess heat races, if you want to call them, were going to be free to attend. But instead, they move it up. I got the news eventually, and I tuned into it, and they were probably about 50 laps done. And the very first thing I did was say, how many people are there? Whew, man. Oh, man. That was embarrassing. It was definitely embarrassing for NASCAR. The entire thing, the event, the decision, the rain, it rained in Daytona. I'm not going to sit here and say that there wasn't any rain in Daytona because, well, there was, but it's normal for Daytona. And it wasn't only like the entire night. It only rained for a little bit. I was keeping up with the weather on Sunday because that's what I do. I like to tell NASCAR when they're doing terrible things. Just generally, the clash at the Coliseum is terrible. Even the little bit that I watched, it was like, man, what are we doing here? This isn't even a race. Everybody's bumping into each other, Nobody can do anything because you're just bumper to bumper. I mean, the average race pace was like 40 miles per hour. Like, I can do better going down I-77. I can do better on 150 probably. Yeah. I'll go Kyle Busch speeds on 150, baby. Woo! Well, actually, that was Perth Road, not 150. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. So they move up the event, and Denny Hamlin wins, of course, because, NASCAR super villain has to win the opener. And then Joey Logano got into it with... oh, man, who was it? Ty Gibbs is who he got into it with. And then Chastain got into it with Preece, I believe is what it was. Tyler Reddick is who it was. It's an exhibition race, guys. Who cares? Nobody's actually racing anyway. This isn't a race. This is an event. It's a joke is what it is. I really sincerely hope NASCAR figures it out and they move that event back to Daytona. Or you know what? Maybe an actual racetrack would be nice. Not one that's custom made and is, we thought Martinsville was small. Coliseum is just terrible. And it's not fun to watch. It isn't. Also, in terms of things that have changed in NASCAR recently, I want to remind you some of the rule changes that we have for the 2024 season. The biggest one being on the road course, in my opinion. Last year, remember, during the regular season, we had no cautions during the road courses, and that led to a couple of races that only featured one caution, most notably the Indianapolis road course, yeah, it was bad. Michael McDowell did win that race, though. It was interesting. So NASCAR, going into the playoffs, they say, all right, when we go to the Roval, we're going to put cautions, stage breaks, okay? There's going to be a caution at the end of the stage. And now going into the 2024 season, that will remain for the entire season. There will be no stage break, or there will be cautions, I should say, during the stage break at all road courses in the year 2024. I don't know. Why do we need these stage breaks? I'm turning angry at NASCAR, and I'm starting to regret even thinking it, but like, I'm getting over this, man. It's just one bad decision after another bad decision after another bad decision, and it's like they don't even listen to the fans, They're just money hungry, and props to them, I guess, for just going after the money because, that's, I guess, how you keep your sport alive, You got to keep going up because if you're not going up, you're going down. But that's what we have to deal with now, is a janky schedule with janky rules and janky championship. Man, remember when Kyle Busch won the championship after missing like 6 races or however many it was? Remember when they let Chase Elliott into the playoffs after he missed 7 races, one of them because he was suspended? It's just tiring. It really is. And I don't know if the drivers are enjoying it. I don't, because you look at Kevin Harvick in the booth now, and he looks so much happier in the booth than he did over the past few years driving a race car. And that's his passion, was driving a race car. He's a champion. He won a championship at Stewart-Haas Racing. And he just looks 10 times happier being in the booth. And that's what's going on. We're losing the greats of the sport one by one. They're retiring. The personalities that are replacing them are double thumbs down. Or at least it's not them that's the problem. It's NASCAR capping their personalities that's the problem. So that's what's in the NASCAR news. The Clash, Denny Hamlin won. It's just whatever. We got a couple of minutes left, and man, I'm gonna make it through. I am. We're pushing through. The voice is just barely hanging on. You could probably tell through your radio that it sounds a little bit different, but we're pushing through. We got a little bit more to go here. A couple minutes left on the show. So last couple of things to keep you updated on. Number one, we're gonna go to the NBA real quick. The trade deadline for the NBA is February 8th. That's coming up in a few days here. The most recent trade, Victor Oladipo, went to the Memphis Grizzlies. In return, Houston acquired Steven Adams, a couple of second-round picks, a couple of second-round picks with conditions because that's how it is. Like I said, I'm trying here. I already did the home ad show this morning, and we got through that, but the voice and still recovering from being ill over the weekend it's just it's a work in progress. Give me a few days. I put it together to get up today and get it done and pushing through, and the voice failed me. The body's all right. I feel like I could stand up like this for another 5 hours, but the voice though, the voice could barely stand to hold another minute and a half here. Thanks everyone for listening to the Scoreboard today. I'm gonna let the outro take us out because man, my voice is a mess. Thank you, Mark, if you're listening, for a very friendly wager on the Duke UNC game, and thank you very much for coming in to pay off that bet that I lost, by the way. It was a lot of fun to have you here in studio, and to anybody else that ever wants to make a bet with me on sports, just come to me with something, say, all right, I'll bet you this is going to happen. You can take this. And if this happens, then this, and you know how a bet works. You got to wager something. Thanks everyone for tuning in today to the Scoreboard. I will see you guys tomorrow morning, actually, on the home ad show, still filling in for Brian Summers. And then you'll hear me again right here on the Scoreboard at 6 o'clock. Have a good one, everyone. We're out of here. I'll talk to you tomorrow.